And I'm Lisa.
And this is the Paid Media Playbook, where we talk to marketing professionals about their challenges, tactics, and triumphs.
Join us here at Double Z Media for weekly conversations about media strategies for marketing leaders. So what was the last house project that you tried to do yourself, halfway through realized you were in over your head, and then immediately started Googling, oh no, I need a painter near me?
Yeah.
That happened to me very recently.
Yeah, me trying to install my own tile. That was bad idea. It's just bad. And there's brown glue around the edges.
I tried to change the doorknob on my front door because I was like, that's easy. Like, I shouldn't have to hire a professional for this.
Yeah.
I can read the instructions and follow them. I can read. It'll be fine. It was not fine.
Doors are weird.
Especially because the handle has like 2 points where it connects, and the new doorknob didn't have the same size. Oh, it was a mess. If everything goes perfectly right, I can do it myself. But the second there is anything out of the ordinary, abort mission.
How did he do that? What did he do? I always miss like that crucial moment. I spent like a half hour trying to figure out how to get the blade out of one of my box cutters because it was a weird one.
And then you have a stumbling block like that derails the whole project. I feel like we have had a few clients that have had the same experience with paid media. And then we walk into the project with the doorknob off the door, the knife halfway deconstructed, and then saying, help.
Exactly. And it's good marketing directors that don't hesitate to say, hey, I'm in over my head. How could I possibly see an ROI when I'm reacting a lot, and not being able to really have a comprehensive plan of attack? And we walked into that a while ago and had to go in and kind of slash and burn some large spends that were kind of ridiculous, like big spends for the audience. And that was something that if you don't do it for 25 years, like I have, you did, this particular thing was a large market broadcast purchase. And it was a sports purchase too. So it was very inflated anyway, and kind of an ego buy. And so from a client perspective, I was just like, absolutely no. Like, no, I could see this price and I could see it's at 2 a.m. And I'm like, do you realize that's going to run at 2? A lot of people don't know what efficient is.
And part of that, I think maybe one of the first factors is just the lack of time. I mean, a marketing director, a CMO has so much on their plate. They can't spend an hour going through a buy and analyzing, like, is this worth the money? They just have so many other things they have to do. And I think in the case of this client, they just took the proposal from the station, which, the station was trying to sell. I get it. You aim high and you see what the client comes back with, but they didn't have any time to negotiate. So they just took it.
Yep. And, we got on board, paused it for just a half a second so that we could really get our arms around what was going on, and then came back with a structured, measured, realistic plan, more comprehensive too, because I think a lot of times when you're not doing it for a living, you aren't getting exposed to all of the new technology, new data available, new ways of targeting, new places to target, like Netflix now, and then, because we do it for so many clients and we work, in a co-op with other agencies, we have the resources to do what a lot of people don't have time to do, which is like, how has this worked out for you? How has this worked out for you? So we can, learn from other people's mistakes pretty quickly so that we're not going in and going, yes, we'll do that.
And we're able to pull inspiration too. Like, we have clients in so many different industries that they think about marketing so differently. They have such different approaches, but we're able to really engage with each of those, different strategies and say, oh, this aspect could work really well for you over here.
Yes.
The breadth of experience in a way that obviously someone later in their career will have experience in, different companies and different industries, but that's such a different approach than I am currently controlling, 5 different campaigns. And oh, great, now we can bring that learning to this other client and just everyone wins.
Yep. And because you're just not going to be exposed to it. So you're not going to know. And that is so true.
With the client you were thinking of as well, we had the benefit of actually knowing some of the reps that they had been working with at the stations, which ended up coming in very useful for that, trying to renegotiate something that had already been decided on, which was not an ideal experience for anyone.
Not an ideal experience, but because we had relationships with those national broadcast, we were able to do that, and in a way that they understood, because they were like, yeah, you're an agency. We understand that you actually are looking at the numbers and looking at the ratings and comparing pricing and running it through software and getting rating subscriptions. And, we're paying for things that the client doesn't pay for. The broadcast stations can kind of make it attractive to work with them by saying, hey, we'll put you on camera and produce everything for you, so that it's, so it really feeds at that side too. We'll take care of the content and you're going to be a star. So that isn't something that we do, right? Like we can facilitate that, but then again, you can't use it anywhere but on that station.
And the stations also tend to pitch, if you go direct, you don't have to pay the agency fee, which is technically true. But if you actually looked at how many impressions we're able to negotiate for the same amount of money, even though we are, we have management fees, that's our job, it still ends up being a lower CPM.
Yeah, lower CPM. Yep. Because we know what to pay for things.
We know what things are worth, and we have an economy of scale. I know you have a meeting set up next week with a publication that I won't name names. You're going to them with, I think, 3 different client campaigns coming up in the next year. And the ability to play them off themselves with those separate campaigns is going to benefit all 3 of those clients.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That's always fun. And when I say fun, I mean years of fun with that publication. I do know what to ask for and how to cover our asses so that we get it and ensure that it happens without a hitch. And that's another thing, working with difficult vendors. Sometimes, we can anticipate these things so that, we've made that mistake 10 years ago. Sometimes we just have to babysit all the vendors.
Knowing where to push, right? Where, what mountain is worth dying on.
Yes.
And then we're able to focus our time where we can actually get results instead of going down a rabbit hole that's not actually going to go anywhere, because that really is just the parent company's policy and you can't change it. There are some things you can't argue out of.
No, it's so true. And especially now, when back in the day when you could get free this, free that, free this, but now there has to be line items on certain things and they have to have it. But there's creative ways around that so that you make up for that, for paying for something you used to get for free by not paying something else and going in and saying, well, you don't have a hard cost here, so why don't we get a bunch of bonus here? That sort of thing. Because we know they have to put money behind something. Corporate says we have to charge for this. And so it's like basically moving money around to where so that we're showing that we're paying for this, but we're really getting all of the same thing and even more sometimes because we have more measurement than we've ever had. So we can hold accountable digital. So it's becoming better and better every time. And budgets are going more and more to streaming too a lot.
It's where more people are spending their time. We just keep seeing the numbers just keep coming back. This percentage of people cut the cord. This percentage of people are streaming only, just constantly. And I feel like sports was one of the last holdouts, and even that has gotten so much more online now.
Yep.
I feel like the last point we wanted to talk about with calling in your heavy hitter expert, in some ways, does just come down to time, reporting, and analytics.
Yeah. And people wonder like, oh, well, doing this stuff is so easy and, blah,
The
blah, blah.
computers do it.
Everybody, yeah, exactly. And everyone thinks that first of all, everybody's a digital media expert these days. And so that in and of itself is kind of like, I don't know, that's just like a joke. And, but knowing, if you've done it for a long time, you know what to look for, you know what kind of KPIs are, and you're thinking about that the second the campaign starts is what are we trying to do here? Which sounds really obvious, but it's surprising how sometimes people can go to just to the creative and not think about you probably should spend at least 80% of your budget trying to place that creative because no one will see it and you'll spend a lot of money.
And then, there's all of the data analysis that goes into it, which helps, obviously, the more you do it, the faster you are able to pull out like, oh, that's going to be really interesting to someone. That's going to tell a good story.
Oh,
which numbers are worth highlighting, and even like, what do they mean? Okay, so creative A had this click-through rate, creative B had that click-through rate, but what about the two different audiences? Just filtering through all of that and finding the gems quickly is really important. But then also trying to explain it to people. I feel like half of my job is just explaining my job to marketing directors so they can turn around and then tell their boss and their team, this is what's actually happening.
Yeah, I think the nicest compliment that we got was from Amy at the Pike Place when she said that we gave her the tools to go to people who are not marketing, but they're still like C-suite type people, but they're not marketing. They don't understand the lingo or anything, and being able to, very easily just being basic English. And this is what success looks like. And this is some comparisons, and the reporting is given and customized to the way that the audience who's going to see it is, whether it's the CFO is going to have a different data than the board of directors who wants to see the overall big picture.
Absolutely. When do you send a 1-pager PDF? When do you send a 20-slide PowerPoint? And when do you just send a spreadsheet? Sometimes they just need the Excel.
No, it's true, because they're plugging it into their own thing.
Yeah,
or send them a link to our dashboard, right?
The like high level check-in at any moment is probably one of the best tools.
That's the last thing I would say is that agencies, in addition to the time it takes to pull reporting and target audiences and optimize and do weekly check-ins with the client and the monthly recaps and the 12-page PowerPoint and all the things that we have to do there. In addition to that, we have all of these data and software subscriptions so that we can try to do that as quickly and as efficiently as possible with proof that we know we're hitting the right market. It's not a guessing game, which I love. It's so much more fun to go into meetings with big government clients. I'll use an example of when we worked with a PR firm, and they had to go in super buttoned up because PR charges by the hour, and you might not even get a story picked up, but they still spend a ton of time on it. So they go in super buttoned up and all business, whereas you and I were like super relaxed, and I just wanted to have rapport with the marketing director because we're coming with hard numbers, so it's not like we can't be a little more relaxed. I absolutely love that. I think that's the best part, that we don't have to sell creative, which is totally subjective. We're just sharing our metrics that we delivered.
I mean, 69 million impressions is still 69 million impressions.
Yeah, that's true. I know. Yeah. That's why you're listening to this podcast right now, people.
Thanks for listening to the Paid Media Playbook. Want more content like this? Follow our agency, Double Z Media, on LinkedIn. You can find the link in the episode description.